when he came to pay his respects. My mom was haggard, her eyes swollen like walnuts from crying. Her voice was hoarse and she was depressed. The pain of losing her daughter had aged her a few dozen years overnight. When I looked at her, I felt sick to my stomach. I wanted to hug her, but I could only hold her to the controller. I couldn't hold her anymore. I'm a bit depressed. Alan, when you have time to do the formalities. My mom's voice was a bit choked up. The formalities she mentioned were the divorce papers. Alan's head was bowed and there was no expression on his face. He was silent for a while, then nodded his head. Okay, I know. I feel a bit bad. No, it's really hard. It's so hard that I can't even think of scolding Alan for being a bitch. What's wrong with you? He asked me. Do you really want to divorce me? Do you want to? Alan put down his chopsticks. His hand went to my head and then through my body. He didn't touch anything. He spread his hands at me. I'm not divorced. I'm widowed. He was right. But I still feel bad. I blinked and said, sullenly, can you not marry someone else? As soon as I said it, I regretted it. How could I be so selfish? I didn't wait for Alan to pay attention to me. I changed my mind again. You'd better find someone else. You're so clumsy. If no one takes care of you, you'll starve to death in 3 days. Alan sighed. Stop it. Behave yourself. That's what Alan used to say when I was upset. That's good. We didn't say a word to each other. The living room was quiet. It was so quiet, it took my breath away. Alan was sitting at a table eating. I was on the sofa, staring at him without blinking. My nostrils guts were just looking at him. Of course it did. It's just my illusion. Ghosts don't cry. I'm getting holes in my nose from staring at you. Alan's words were a bit fuzzy with his mouth full of rice. I laughed a little and said, why don't you come and keep me company? He didn't even look up. You're crazy. I said I couldn't bear to let you go. Alan's hand fell as he held the food in his hand. He was silent for a while before slowly saying yes. But you have to wait. How long? Another 40 to 50 years. I laughed and scolded him. He laughed back, but his eyes were ringed. Alan's been busy these days, very busy. He doesn't come home much. Just like before. I don't feel bad. I'm leaving soon. Alan's different. He's got a lot of time on his hands. He can still watch the sun rise and set. He's got a life to live. I'm just scared. I'm afraid he'll forget me. I miss him. I haven't seen him for a long time. I want to see him. But I'm so weak now. I can't even go to his company to look for him. All I can do is stay in my dark attic and wait. Waiting for Alan to come back. Lola, Lola. Alan was calling me loud and anxious. I got up with difficulty and floated slowly out of the attic. I didn't even know when it got dark. Alan switched on the lights in the living room and the hallway on the first floor. The whole house was lit up. Alan stood at the bottom of the stairs. It was as if all the light in the house was focused on him. It was so beautiful. What are you screaming about? I stood on the stairs and watched him. Alan breathed a sigh of relief. It's nothing. I'm just shouting. Alan pretended to be relaxed, but his fingers clenching the hem of his shirt betrayed him. He does that every time he's nervous. He's very predictable. I didn't tell him off. Alan stared at me without blinking. I didn't know what he was looking at. I'm pretty, I know. But I'm almost transparent now, so I don't think I'm that good looking. What's wrong with you? I blinked at him. I put on too much foundation. And Alan didn't tell me off. He was lying on a couch, and he waved at me. Come and sleep with me. There was a black patch under his eyes. I don't know how long it's been since he slept. How dare you ask a ghost to sleep with you? I said that, but I still leaned towards Alan. Alan is talking a lot today. Even though he's sleepy, he's still trying to talk to me. It's just trivial things. He was talking on and on, like he was trying to fill me in on everything he hadn't said before. I sat on the floor and replied to him without bothering. Then I got bored. I scolded him. What are you talking about when you're not sleeping? You don't have the life to talk to me anymore, do you? He still has it. It's me who doesn't. We both know it. You're so mean. If you can't touch me in your next life, what will you do? He laughed. He closed his eyes. He wouldn't show me his red circles. But underneath his thin eyelids, his eyes were gently beating. He's not asleep. His hand was on the edge of the sofa. I put my hand on it, even if I couldn't hold it. I insisted on putting my hand with his. It was cold. He didn't move. I stuck. I couldn't help it. Alan started laughing again. I looked at our virtual, clasped hands and slowly spoke to him. You have to live well and make good money. Give me some limited edition bags for the holidays. You have to find a gentle and considerate wife again, and have a smart child with her. Don't look for that secretary of yours. She looks like a fox. I don't like her. I'm going to bed. Alan doesn't want to hear this. I nodded. Then, I won't talk about it. I saw a tear slip from the corner of Alan's eye. Before, I always told him not to cry. He doesn't care about me. And now I saw him cry. My heart was about to split open. That tear hit me hard. It made me die again. I got up. Alan opened his eyes at my movement. Are you leaving? His voice was hoarse. I nodded. I'm going. Alan looked up at me, tears in his eyes. It made my heart break. And he said, "Low away for me, okay?" I shook my head. I can't wait 40 or 50 years. It'll be quick. It'll be quick. Don't fart. I scolded him. I went on. When I become a leader over there, you can go there. Until then, you have to live a good life. When I got to the end, my pretense of being relaxed suddenly collapsed. I waved at him. Goodbye. An invisible force pulled me out of this small home that held so many memories for me. Lola, wait for me. He hissed, his voice thick with sobs. I turned back, but was blinded by a mist. There's no turning back for ghosts. I wasn't reincarnated. I was just taken back to my grave. I'm stuck here and can't leave. There's no angel to take me to the next life. I don't know why. Ghosts don't need to sleep. I leaned against my tombstone and watched the sun rise and fall in the sky and watched a few flaming clouds. During all this time, Alan didn't come once. My sister came once and brought me my favorite flowers and my favorite fruits. I nibbled on the apples she brought. I listened to her talk to the little 2-inch photo of me on the tombstone. She talked a lot. She told me she'd take good care of Mom and Dad. I believed her. My sister is smarter than me. She runs a company. She's planning to open a branch overseas. I'm relieved to have her take care of Mom and Dad. She talked about Alan again. My ears immediately stood up, and I couldn't even chew the apple in my hand. My sister and Alan are not on good terms. She didn't say much, just that he's not well these days. That single sentence sent a huge shockwave through my head. What do you mean, not so good? A wave of panic came from the bottom of my heart and turned into a chill that spread to all my limbs. Until my sister left the cemetery, her words were still ringing in my ears. I wanted to be by Alan's side immediately, but my legs feel like they're filled with lead and I'm stuck here. I couldn't move. I'm dead. And this stupid man won't let me rest easy, even though that heart doesn't beat anymore. 2 days later, Alan came to this little cemetery. I got out of the grave. He'd lost so much weight, his cheeks sunken in, his beard like a weed. He was a mess. I couldn't look at him. I yelled at him. What the fuck did I tell you? Did I tell you to live a good life? What are you doing working all day and all night? Are you in a hurry to meet God? I'm in a hurry to see you. Alan silenced me with a single word. I floated around him a few times and then sat on the tombstone. I'm here now, so why don't you stay with me for a while? Alan nodded. He sat on the stone steps. The bag at his side was bulging. I don't know what was in it. I raised my chin at him. What are you hiding? Alan asked me with a smile. You want to see? I nodded. Then I watched him pull a bunch of stuff out of his bag. A shovel, a hammer, a brush, and a crowbar. Have you changed your profession to grave robbing? Alan laughed even louder. I'm going to dig your grave. And then, this bastard dug up my grave right in front of me. He used the crowbar to pry open the coffin. He took my urn and ran away before the grave sweeper found out. Alan took me home in his car. He cleaned up the house. It's clean. Unusually clean. There was nothing on the coffee table. Just a picture of us together and the will crest under the frame. When I saw the caption on that white sheet of paper, my cold heart almost skipped a beat. I stepped in front of Alan. You're crazy. Alan patted the box in his hand and said, I'm not crazy. He took my urn and walked straight into the bedroom. Nothing much had changed in the bedroom. Only the bed and the floor were covered in rose petals. Alan closed the curtains to let in all the sunlight. Then he lay flat on the bed with my urn in his arms. Then I watched as he stabbed me with a fruit knife. Without hesitation, he stabbed himself in the neck. He was looking at me the whole time he did it. He smiled at me. Bright red blood spurted out from the wound on his alabaster cheeks. But his smile was brighter than the petals of a flower. He made a sign to me. I could see it. He said he'd wait for me. I don't remember much after that. Is that why you weren't reincarnated? The angel circled me and said to me. I smiled at her. I have to wait for someone. He's got a bad temper. If I leave first, he'll be angry for a long time. The angel glanced at me with a raised eyelid and smiled. So grumpy? Then why are you waiting for him? No, I'm waiting for him. I love him. I looked back and saw a tall figure. I pointed at him and said, Angel, look, my love. He's coming. End of story.